Hey everybody. So when it comes to this channel, there's really like two concepts overall that I really try to stress when it comes towards practical use of AI. And that is concept number one being that AI is not software. And what that means to me very specifically is that when you're putting together a system of AI models, that's exactly what it breaks down to, right? Is a system of interconnected models as well as a blend of software within that, but the AI is not the software within that, right? It interacts with the software uh, like a user would, but not as a human user would, right? And then so I like to reference and frame it and keep it in that context. And then the second and important aspect within this is to have essentially a great understanding of how exactly is the best way to do something, right? There's a very big difference when it comes to AI between yes, you can do something and then you can conceptually do something and then actually like building it out into a production ready product. Like those are two vastly different worlds when it comes to AI, right? And then within this, I have a unique opportunity here to kind of illustrate that concept for you within essentially what I'm going to show you is a concept for a model where the concept is that the use case is to take a Zoom call and then have like we'll call it like an AI avatar that will be able to fully interact on that Zoom call, which would be able to answer questions, etc. And then those questions are updated weekly because they're like weekly calls and weekly meetings. Like to me, overall, this is a very generalized use case for like a lot of businesses. They run into this specific example, right? And then the first conceptual way to do that would be let's just wire it all through ChatGPT and then have ChatGPT handle all of that, right? And then like ChatGPT one as a system can't handle every single function that's within that, and then two, it's not the most optimal way to do that. At all, right? And then I'm going to show you within this that there's certain steps within this process where extremely small models will outcompete any model when it comes to that particular part of the process. And that's the biggest part that I think that stakeholders in business don't understand still that I run into is that aspect of it, right? Like why not just throw like chat GPT at everything because it's like the biggest, right? So if it's the biggest and it's the best performing benchmark wise, like why not just use it for everything, right? And it's those benchmarks are general and AI is very narrow, right? And then so if for your specific task what we're looking to do, and then in this particular instance what this is very specifically going to apply to is the data ingestion layer, and then being able to take in your data easily. ChatGPT is horrible at that overall, and then I'm going to show you essentially a 250 million parameter model which like runs on a calculator or an iPhone essentially, that can handle that part of the process devastatingly effectively. And then so going through this, essentially that breakdown of that scenario that I just laid out, right? Let's go ahead and first of all outline the framework and the approach for that. So when we conceptualize that problem, to me, when we break it down, there's a few elements and a few things that we need to actually dive into within the full model within that, right? That's kind of how my brain works within it. Is I want to first of all like reverse engineer out that full problem, and then so we want to. Our end goal is to end up with an AI avatar, so a talking AI avatar. So we know that there's going to be voice to speech up front, like our text to speech up front inherently within that model. So we know that we're going to be utilizing like at the end for a production ready product like 11 Labs or Microsoft Voice or something along those lines for production and essentially to be the voice. And then we'll have an avatar, and then there could be varying levels of that avatar, right, as to how exactly that functions in the end result. But the most important part of that and the biggest aspect of this for the end user, for the end stakeholder, is exactly how that data is going to get updated and ingested into that model on a weekly basis. Having being a system admin for a dozen years, maybe or so, I have a lot of experience with that particular problem, and I look every single interaction system that is built out within this. That's the very first point that I go to, right? Like, what's going to be the biggest pain point for the system admin running this system once the system's built out, right? Like, the system can be beautiful, it can look great, but like and it can function, but like and it function, but like, how exactly is it going to be maintained by that system admin? Because that's going to determine at the end of the day how exactly it's going to function. And then so when it comes to updating this model weekly, in terms of that process, to me, that's the biggest, when I'm reverse engineering through the process, the biggest upfront bottleneck and the biggest thing that I want to work around within this model, building it out. To me, everything else is pretty straightforward and very easy within that, right? But then I have, to me, I want to make it super easy. Like, I want a receptionist to be able to upload the data to this model weekly in order to give its brain an update, essentially, is what we'll, how we'll label it, right? And then so for that backend process, essentially, this is like a toy model that I've built out to illustrate that. And then so going to that second point of concept versus like actually like building out a production concept, that's the other point that I want to highlight and make very clear within this video here, right? So everything I'm going to show here is essentially the like concept of it, the MVP of this concept and this general idea, but then taking this from concept and then actually like building it out. Let's say that you like whatever enterprise system that you want to choose within it, whether that be Azure, Google, or AWS. As far as the back end, connecting it to multiple systems, etc. That's where again you fall into the other like kind of massive pitfall when it comes to AI projects overall. And then a lot of people, even if they have experience in one area, then that often becomes the bottleneck as well for them, right? And then so I'm going to showcase here the concept of it, and then again taking it from toy to full production is where the actual value of all of this comes in at the end of the day, right? And then so, but breaking it down, as far as this toy model, essentially what I'm doing is I'm creating and embedding sample weekly data, right? And then so in this, I have, my whole point of this is that I want that receptionist to be able to upload any file. I want them to like they don't have like it's their first day on the job. This is the admin is out sick. They have no idea what they're doing. They've just been given a stack of papers. Upload this and make the bot work for the weekly meeting. And I want that to be a goal for an achievable goal for them. And then so essentially within this, it can handle CSV, XLSV, PDF, etc. And then within that, like on the back end, all I have to do is essentially like know upfront like kind of the data that I want from that, and then I'm utilizing a model that I've gone over previously on this channel a couple weeks ago called Granite Dockling, which is a 250 million parameter model that is literally built exactly for this, right? For this purpose, for essentially taking and ingesting this data and then converting any of those files. So again, CSV, XLSV, docx, PDF, etc. And then it can fully extract. And I can tell you from personal experience, show benchmarks from users, from clients, etc., like across the board, that this model outperforms any LLM model on the market, ChatGPT 5, etc., when it comes to these particular tasks, especially with PDF extraction overall, right? And it's a very small model. And then so that solves, I think, to me, the biggest problem within this, right? And then so that's essentially the ingestion layer. And then so all that looks like as far as the complete productionized model is this model with all of that configured on the back end, and then to a pretty landing page with an upload link and an upload upload button that receptionist can just click that upload button, and then boom, literally upload those files. No formatting, no additional formatting required, right? Just straight their CSVs, their XLSVs, their HTML reports, anything, and then just hit that upload button, and then it's going to auto convert, and then that bot, the bot on the Zoom call, is going to be able to take and ingest that data and speak on that data. And then so that's where this next layer comes in here, is that ingestion layer, and that's just essentially a code to illustrate what that looks like, right? And then so essentially it breaks up, and how we do that is we create a framework on the back end around that to break up that data into artifacts, facts, and evidence. And then essentially that's how the model will operate within this instance. Creating that framework grounds the model so it's able to essentially know what its job is within this instance, and how to utilize this massive content, data from any format that it's getting to. So we want it to essentially have the goal to break it up into artifacts, facts, and evidence. And then from there, we will have, and this is where we would introduce the LLM model to be the workhorse within this, to create meeting facts and evidence based off of that, so that the bot would be able to have data based off that parsed data, and then essentially output something that would look like this, right? And then this would also be data that you have that's fully traceable within your organization, and it's more the internal data that you have within that. And then you can ask your data questions directly, and then it gives actual citations. And then so within that, you can play around and then actually have like a model, like a text model. So outside of the meeting, let's say, or before the meeting, you can actually ask the model and then know what you're going to be, the model would say if you ask the model for this meeting. Say you could update the text model or the backend model like the day of or the day before the meeting, and then from there you would essentially have like a dashboard metrics with essentially like your weekly reports, all of the metrics, and then where it's linking to, and then all of the artifacts, IDs, and then a preview of essentially what exactly it's looking off of, right? So like campaign spend or segment review, etc., like weekly performance, those types of things. And then you could adjust the status, ask the model questions directly, and then it will again output and base off of, and like all of it will be based off of the evidence and then what you're looking at within that, right? And then so this is essentially the Python backend, and all of step one within this. That's generally where I like to end things personally on this channel, because I'm a backend developer primarily, and then so if I have a preference, I like to work within Python. But when we're talking about production ready, that's generally where you come into React, right? And then so that's like the other obstacle that makes this challenging when you are actually going from concept to production, is that it's very easy, and I can anyone can prototype out essentially something like, here's a Python-based backend, right? But then when you're going into actual production, we need to make it into a React, and actually, in whatever framework that you're utilizing on the enterprise end, right? You need to build it into like an Azure app or a GWS app. It's like AWS app, etc., right? And then from there, essentially you get what we're looking at here in this toy model example of the React app, right? So then this Python backend would then connect to the React front end, and then what you would be getting in production would be a much prettier and cleaner avatar, and then much prettier and cleaner voices, right? And then within this is utilizing Microsoft Voice, and then the free voices, all of the free voices here. I like Mark. I think Mark's the best here, so we'll utilize Mark for the example here.
This week total spend was $12,450. Return on ad spend 3.27x, down 8% week over week. Cost per acquisition improved to $18.45.
Awesome. And then so it's pulling those directly from that data that you're uploading, or the receptionist is uploading from that Python backend, right? And then so when you ask it questions, and then the non-toy model would essentially be literally in your Zoom meeting with the avatar. And then the most simplistic way to do it would be to have it just be button-based, exactly how it is here. Where
this week total spend was $12,400.
And then it would speak. I'll stop that. So you would ask the question and then it would speak, or you can have it just like full on be able to interact and like fully be a full participant within the Zoom call. I would say that like, and then that's again where you're getting into the differences between concept and production when you're talking about this, right? So what I've illustrated and brought up and talked about up until this point here with this like the avatar and the cleaner avatar and connecting it to the Python and enterprise backends, etc. That would be one step, right? And that would be, I would just say, half the process with the buttons. And then if you wanted it to be a full live participant, not buttons within that call, that would be like, I would say like literally like doubling the project, right? Which is, and it would be 100% doable, but just pointing those out, like that's where when you don't, and again, when you don't have experience coming in and building these things out, that's where you hit those unexpected obstacles when you go to actually build the system out, right? Because it like upfront, like that's like the two, again, to me, the two big areas where you're going to run into like huge significant difficulties within the project are trying to get the backend data ingested, and then if you utilize an LLM model just like straight up for that, you're gonna have a hard time, and you're not gonna like no matter what, you're gonna just keep cycling through models, doing different stuff, etc. Just IBM Granite Dockling right off the bat there, right? And then just integrating that, plugging that into the flow. And then the second piece in that second part is if you want this avatar within the Zoom call to be 100% live versus like a click ask questions type style live, those are two basically different projects overall. And then so just knowing that up front and then highlighting that up front. But so like overall, I'll leave a link to the collab notebook here for anyone that wants to look through it. Any format goes. This is again just a toy MVP illustrating this out, and then the dashboard here is just in Gradio again. But then so you would want all of this again in React, and then being able to do and build all of that on the front end, right? And then so that's, I mean, again, where all of the like build time, investment, all of these things come in, right? It's again very easy to go from concept, and then being able to bring that concept into full production is where most of these projects fail overall. So just hopefully this gives you like kind of a good illustration overall for anyone looking or examining those types of projects. And if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Thanks very much.